So today I was watching Alonda, a video that she made inspired by another creator who, which the video is about why do I want to lose weight? And I have always been really open with you guys. I've always discussed these reasons with you guys. However, I'm not sure that I've ever put them all in one place. I guess there are some people who tell a story about this is why, kind of like the public version of why they want to lose weight versus the real and internal and raw reasons. I don't know. I just know that while I sat here thinking about what it is that started this journey for me, there were so many things that just came into my mind that I never really thought about. When I first originally started losing weight, remember, I grew up overweight. When I was a baby, my brother is 11 months younger than me. So I was not even a year old when he was born. And, when you're under a year old, you're on formula. So I was on formula. Then my brother was on formula. And then apparently my brother didn't like his formula and he didn't want to drink it anymore. So I would take it from him and drink it for him. And at least that's what my mom says. And then as we got older, and he's still, because he's a year younger than me, on a bottle, and they had taken my bottle away from me already, he didn't want his bottle then, so I would drink his milk. And then we got older, and I just kind of evened out. Then my dad went to prison when I was 7, and I was a big, big, big daddy's girl. Like, can't explain to you. I was a big daddy's girl. And when my dad was no longer in the picture, I was miserable. I was dealing with the trauma of what he did, but then I was also dealing with the trauma that I missed him. And I blamed myself for missing him after what he did. And then I didn't know how to tell people how much I missed him and how much I just wanted things to go back to the way that they were before he was gone. Because I felt so guilty for wanting him to still be in my life after what he did, that I couldn't fathom talking to people about it. So I began to eat. And eat and eat and eat. And eat until we die. Have you guys ever seen, I think it's Winnie the Pooh. Something, something, sweet potato pie. Something, something, till we reach the sky. I don't know the words, but I just remember that. Eat and eat and eat and eat until we die. But, I'm sorry, I don't want to cry. But, so I was 9 years old and I was 102 pounds. And I know this because my cousin is 3 years older than me, and she had a birthday party, and my aunt weighed us all at my cousin's sleepover birthday party. And then I was shamed for being too fat. Mind you, I have been 5'2" for the majority of my life. Suddenly, I was a tall kid, and I just never grew anymore. So at 10, I do have a picture of me at 10 and a half. I did post it in my community post, and I will share it here. And my dad is like 5'6", and you can see my head is close to the top of his head. So I'm at the tallest that I'm ever going to grow to be. So I imagine I'm at least 5'5" at 9 years old. 5 feet at 9 years old. And I'm 102 pounds. And by this time, I already had cup size B breasts. Because in 3rd grade is when I got my first bra, and I was already a B pushing a C. So I'm 102 pounds with gigantic breasts. And I'm being shamed for being fat. So I wasn't allowed to have any dessert. The dinner that I ended up getting was different than what was being served to everybody else because I was fat. And that made me sit there and think, I don't ever want to feel that way again. I don't ever want to be told because you're fat, you're less than, and you're treated differently. However, that did not change anything for me because I continued to gain weight. But this time I looked at it differently. I began to internalize that, and I felt as though because I'm fat, I don't deserve love. I don't deserve affection. I don't deserve compassion or sympathy, or for somebody to truly care about me in any capacity, whether that, I mean, at this age, I wasn't thinking romance. I was thinking, my mom, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents. And I just always felt less than. So when I was younger and I decided I wanted to lose weight, those were things that would sit in my mind. My dad was still around, so I must have been 6. My cousin used to have like a power wheel, like it was like a truck or something. And his mom wouldn't let me get on it because she said I was too fat and I would break it. And mind you, this is before I turned 9 and was 102 pounds. So I don't know what I was. And I guess I was a chubbier kid, but I was also a taller kid. And I was not fat yet. I wasn't a fat kid yet. I didn't start getting really fat until after the age of 7. But I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to have those kinds of limitations anymore. When I started to actively lose weight, my brain was, I want to be able to ride the power wheel. Even though I was already 18, why would I be in a power wheels? But the point was in my head that I didn't want to ever be told that I couldn't do something because I was too fat. I couldn't, play with a toy because I was too fat. So then I was like, I don't know how old I was, but Victoria's Secret started becoming popular. And I didn't care if it was Victoria's Secret, truly. Victoria's Secret started becoming popular. And because Victoria's Secret was popular, everybody had these cute bras. And I have been getting my bras at Lane Bryant since I was about 10. And those bras were $50 to $75 every bra. They always hurt. They never fit me right. The wires would always stab me. They would snap. They would cut me. And all I wanted to do was be able to buy a bra from a regular person's store. I just wanted to be able to buy a bra from a regular person's store that would support my breasts and not have them sagging everywhere and keep me from feeling uncomfortable around men who my whole life made me feel uncomfortable for my body. I would have strange men whistling at me and catcalling me and, trying to look down my shirt and at my breasts. And instead of looking at me, they were always looking at my chest. And mind you, I am a literal child. But I always looked older. But I'm still pretty sure you could tell I was a child. But I had the body of an adult. And it made me not want to be looked at. It made me want to be invisible. So I wanted to lose weight, but I was afraid to lose that. So the older I got, the more I started to realize, even being part of special events, I didn't want to be a part of special events like my cousin getting married. She had like a real wedding with like real photographers and at a real, mission in San Juan Bautista. If you don't know what the missions in San Juan Bautista are, San Juan Bautista is a city in California that has these amazing missions from like the 1800s that were built by, I don't know whoever the people that built them. They were amazing. Those are gorgeous. Well, it's gorgeous because I think there's only one, but it's beautiful. And I didn't want to ruin her pictures because I'm fat. And then, so I would always tell everybody no. Anytime people would invite me to, be in their wedding or stuff like that, like to actually be a part of the wedding party, I would say no because I was embarrassed to ruin their pictures. I didn't want them to be embarrassed by my pictures. And then I didn't want to have to try to figure out how I was going to dress for them because, a lot of weddings, they wear the exact same thing. And I don't fit in regular people clothes. So I had to always say no. So I wanted to be able to say yes. I wanted to be able to feel like I could do regular people things and not be ashamed to say that I ruined their photos. My whole life was losing weight because I thought I just wanted to lose weight and be smaller. I didn't realize it was because I had a fear of not fitting in. I had a fear of not being normal. I had a fear of people judging me because I was lazy or smelly or ugly or whatever because I was fat. And then as I got older, you have to remember every single thing in my life that I've ever sought medical attention for was always because I was fat. If I had a cough, lose some weight, the cough will go away. I have impaired vision, so lose some weight and your vision will get clearer. I have this stupid cherry anoma. It's basically a red mole on the top of my nose. I have one also right here. I have one right here. I have them I have one on my wrist that it gets bigger and then it gets smaller. And I've had them since I was young. But my whole life, people have known me for 30 years and I've had it that long. People who've known me that long think that it's a pimple and they will still tell me, hey, you got a pimple on your nose, go pop it. And it's like, dude, it's not a pimple. It's a freaking red mole. But, the doctors would tell me lose some weight and they won't grow anymore. Okay. I didn't know that weight had anything to do with moles growing. Nobody's ever told me lose some weight and your mole will disappear. But they told me that about the red ones. Okay, sure. I thought if I lost weight, they'll magically disappear. So I wanted them to disappear because I wanted people to stop thinking that I had a big pimple on my nose. I had, when I was about 25, suddenly I grew what I thought was a pimple. Let me see. And it was right here. It ended up being a lipoma. But at the time, they didn't know if it was a tumor or what it was. But you could see the scarring right here. And you could see that there's kind of a lump right here. This is the scar tissue that built. And by the way, this is all numb still. It's been like 4 years. It's still numb. Like I can't feel it. I don't know if you can hear that, but I can't feel it. But it was a big giant lump that had grew on my forehead. And I thought it was a pimple that had grown. But it turned out to be a lipoma. And if you don't know what a lipoma is, it is a pocket of fat that just grows. Nobody knows why it happens, but you could be skinny and have one. But I didn't think that. I thought because I'm fat, there's nowhere left for my body to grow fat. So it grew on my forehead like a unicorn horn. So I just wanted that to never happen again. To never grow back, so I wanted to lose weight for that. Then I have this issue, or I had this issue where I bled like a savage every single time my period would come around, and I was in so much agony and pain, and the back pain and the cramping and the weakness in my legs and all of these things that would happen to me during my period, and the mood swings and all of these things, because I also suffered from PMDD. But I suffered from these things, and they said if you lose weight, your period will become normal. You will stop bleeding like a savage. You will stop having the clots come out like they do. You will stop having 6 months of bleeding nonstop for, 5 or 6 different times in your life. 3 months, 6 months. That happened to me many times. These things will stop if you lost weight. Then I wanted those to stop. I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted the heaviness of the bleeding to stop. Then every time I needed to pee, I felt the urgent need this second to pee. The second I felt like I had to pee, it was urgent then and there. I need to go right now. Within the next 2 minutes, I'm going to be peeing in my pants if I don't get to a toilet right now. There was never a warning. It was this second. Now you need to pee. And the doctors told me if you lose weight, that'll stop. And why wouldn't I believe them? They're the doctors. They're the ones who went to school for 1,000 years, not me. So I believed them. And I wanted that to stop. Now that I've since had my hysterectomy, I know different. And the every time I would cough, every time I would sneeze, if I laughed too hard, I would pee my pants. I don't do that anymore. Now that my uterus is gone, and the weight of the fibroids in my uterus pushing against my bladder is now gone. And fibroids, they say, can be hereditary, although they don't know what causes it. They don't know why it's genetic. But almost every single female in my family has had a case of fibroids. And some of us far more severe than others, but almost all of us have had to have the same response by having our uteruses removed to have that issue taken away from us. But once that was done, I don't do that anymore. My bladder doesn't do that anymore. But I always thought it was just because I was fat, like I was told. I wanted to lose weight because I have excessive facial hair growth. I grow a beard. I grow sideburns that like a beard, and a mustache. It's usually more on this side than it is anywhere else. But as far as my mustache, and for some reason right here, but I don't really grow it over here. And they always told me if I lost weight that would stop. I didn't know that was related to the PCOS. I didn't know that there was called hirsutism, where you have excessive facial hair growth. But I wanted to lose weight because I wanted that to stop. Then there were shoes. I am a 7.5, but I have a wide foot. And so sometimes I would have to go up to 8, even an 8.5 for them to fit me right. But they would be too big. They would fit my width right, but they would not fit my length right. So I was forever getting like blisters and stuff on my feet from that. Or I would always have problems walking because I was wearing clown shoes. And so I resorted to just being in sandals and flip-flops and stuff like that because it didn't restrict the width of my foot from fitting, but they didn't like slide off because they were too big. But I wanted to be able to wear a regular pair of shoes like a regular person and not feel like I was, injuring myself more by doing that. I went to Japan when I was at my lowest weight as an adult. When I had lost 115 pounds and I had gotten to 235 pounds, and I went to Japan. And when I went to Japan, I got to sit in a first class seat. That was a lay flat seat. And that seat, that flight's like 14 hours. And I got to lay down. I got to lay down on my flight. And I wouldn't have been able to do that as a bigger person. And don't get me wrong, 235 pounds is still big. It still is, but it's not anywhere near as big as, 300 pounds is. When I went to Japan, I was able to fit in the bathrooms of the airplane. and not have to worry. I was able to go into these like monuments and these like buildings that were built like hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, that were made small, you know. People were small back then, and I was able to fit. And I was always afraid that I would never be able to fit. And then I got bigger again, and then I just was afraid to travel because I was afraid that I wouldn't fit in places. There's a lot of places in this world that are very, very old, and they are made for small bodies. They're not made for big bodies. So I wanted to lose weight so I can travel. I wanted to lose weight so that I can fit in a chair comfortably, and that chair would support me. And it's never happened to me, but I've always been afraid of breaking chairs. Always been afraid to break a chair. I've always, like these are fixed, so they don't move. But I've always been afraid that the sides, like the armrests and stuff, wouldn't fit. They do go up and down, but they don't like go out. So I was always afraid that I wouldn't be able to fit inside of a chair with arms. I'm terrified of heights, terrified. I don't think this has anything to do with my weight, but I'm absolutely terrified of heights. And I don't know if losing weight will help me conquer that fear, and if maybe your fear of heights is because you're fat, and if you lost weight, you wouldn't be afraid of heights anymore. So I wanted to lose weight so I would stop being afraid of heights. Are these stupid things? Maybe. But they're really things that I thought. I really believed these things. I'm a very eclectic person, right? Like I like bright colors. I like rainbows. I like, big bright jewelry and big bright makeup. When I was at a really good mental space, I would wear makeup every single day, not because I felt like I needed it, but because I loved to do it. I loved to do it. And I would do like these crazy, colors and stuff. And it was just so fun to me. I loved doing it. But I stopped when I hit a really bad mental space. And now to do any of that, it just feels like a chore, but I really want to get back into it. However, I feel like being fat makes people stare at me more. And then with bright makeup on, they stare more. And I don't want people looking at me. So I wanted to lose weight so I can wear fun makeup. I wanted to lose weight so that I would never be afraid to fit in somebody's car. Growing up, I was always the biggest one. Always. Again, I've been, 296 pounds for my whole entire adult life until recently. But anyway, so, that's big. That's 300 pounds. It's gigantic. I get it. I've always been the biggest. Always. I've never really dealt with anybody who was bigger than me, with the exception of like older people. Like I had an aunt and a cousin, but that cousin is like older than my mom. So, they were older than me by a lot. And outside of that, I've never really dealt with anybody being bigger than me. I've always been the biggest. And somewhere inside of me, I wanted to not be the biggest anymore. I've always been the youngest and the biggest, and I didn't want to be those things. I wanted to be looked at as a normal person, not a big fat baby, which is how I was looked at. I absolutely could not stand growing up my whole life hearing, you are so beautiful, Delilah. You have such a pretty face. Second I heard that, I already knew it was coming. You have such a pretty face. You would be so much more attractive if you would lose weight. If you had the body to match your face. First of all, why say that? Why couldn't you just leave it at, if you wanted to compliment me, if you wanted to say, Delilah, you have a pretty face, why not just say, Delilah, you're very pretty? Point blank, period, stop. Why does it have to be, Delilah, you are very pretty? However, imagine how much more prettier you can be if you lost weight. Why do you give compliments with, caveats. I would never, ever, ever tell somebody, oh my God, you are so pretty. Look how pretty you are. You would be so much prettier if you got a nose job. Oh my God, you are so pretty. You'd be so much prettier if you got your lips filled. You know, you are very, very pretty. You have beautiful eyes. They would be so much more beautiful if they were green. That makes no sense. Why would you tell somebody that? I wanted to be able to not be the fat friend. I didn't want to be referred to as the fat friend. I didn't want to be, oh, she's the funny fat one. Or she's the fat mean one. Oh, because I was mean. I was very mean for a very long time. I don't know that it had a lot to do with my weight. It probably did. But it was more so about how unhappy I was, how the trauma in my life just affected me. You know, you guys know that my father's in prison. Well, not anymore, but he was in prison for 27 years. There's not a lot of things that'll put you in prison for that long. So he was not a very nice person to the people around me. He was very abusive. I grew up in a very abusive home. I watched a lot of abuse in my home. And then when my dad went to prison and it was just me, my mom, and my brother, I became the outlet for the anger that was built up in my family. And it got taken out on me. And I became very angry and very bitter. And the older I got, the more angry I got and the more bitter I became. I began to work on my mental health. And through working on my mental health, I had a lot of things that I was willing to talk about, but then there was things that I wasn't willing to talk about. I have never I've never felt comfortable talking about weight. I never wanted to talk about other people's weight. I never wanted people to talk about mine. When people ask me, have you lost weight? I'm just like, no, I'm good. I don't like to talk about it. I don't like to be questioned. I don't like to be asked. I don't like to be asked, how are you doing it? What are you doing? Like, I'm just living. Like, please leave me alone. I don't like those conversations. And it took me until just recently, I would say maybe within the last 6 months, I even had a video about it where I began to realize that a lot of that unwillingness to talk about it, because it would literally send me into a mental panic, was because I felt as though people were telling me that I wasn't good enough, that they didn't really care for me or love me or like me because I was fat. And it wasn't until I was not fat that they would be able to have those emotions towards me. That's what I felt like I was being told. That's what I was hearing when people would tell me, you're pretty, but I would hear, you are not enough. These are just things that I think about. You know, I feel like there's so many things that hinder us in our lives. Although I'm very, very open with you guys about these things, since I've never put them in one place, thought I would try to do that. But there's just so many things. Like, there's just so many things. I want to lose weight because I want to put a swing in the tree in front of my house. And I'm afraid that the limbs cannot handle my weight. But I want to be able to sit in a swing on my tree, hammock, relax. I wanted to lose weight because I wanted to have a baby. And I was always told I would never have a baby because I was too fat. And now I will never have a baby because I no longer have a uterus. And I'm also 43 years old. So there are very small amounts of options that I have. But I wanted to know what it was like to birth a baby from my own body. And I'll never be able to do that. And that was my goal. And now I have to change that goal because that's not a possibility anymore. But you know what? Even though that's not an option for me anymore, I don't have to let the weight stop me from doing everything else I wanted to do. I don't have to let the weight and the shame of the weight, not necessarily the fact that the weight itself was holding me back, but the shame that I felt from other people throughout my life, making me feel like I wasn't good enough to do things because I was fat. I wasn't worthy of enjoying my life because I was fat. Guess what? I am worthy. And I can enjoy my life. I may never be able to have that baby on my own, in my own body, in my own womb. But I can do the other things. And I can enjoy my life. And I can mourn the loss that I feel from not being able to do that. And I can mourn the loss of these 43 years that I gave up to the shame that people made me feel. For whatever reason, I allowed that to take hold of my life. And I felt guilty about that for so many years. But I'm not going to feel guilty anymore. It's okay for me to take up physical space, even though I spent the majority of my life feeling like it wasn't okay. And mark my words, I am going to travel. I am. I'm going to enjoy all the places I always dreamt of. I'm going to go to Greece, and I'm going to go to Italy, and I'm going to go to France, and I'm going to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to go to the top of the crown of the Statue of Liberty because I didn't get to do that when I went, because I was afraid that I wouldn't fit through the tiny stairwell and the 160 stairs it takes to climb up there. And I'm going to do these things. And I'm going to do them. What are you going to do? What are you going to do to stop letting people tell you that you can't do it? Are you going to join me on these adventures? I am going to go as freaking terrified as I am. I am going to go to Turkey. I don't know how to say the name of the town that I'm going to in Turkey, but whatever that name is, I will show you a picture of what this hot air balloon adventure looks like. They have one also in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but I want to go to Turkey. And I'm going to stay in that Turkey hotel it's a hotel that's on the side of the cliff that overlooks the hot air balloons. And I'm going to go on a hot air balloon. I'm terrified of heights. Terrified of heights. But I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to be afraid that I won't fit in that hot air balloon basket. I want to know, why do you want to lose weight? Is it similar reasons to me? Is it completely different reasons? Did I forget something? I'm sure a lot of us have the same reasons. If I forgot something, let me know. But I want to give you your digital hugs. Tell you how much I appreciate you. do. I appreciate you so much. I would love to hear your thoughts on these things. And I will see you soon.